I've been watching Tyler's hands for 3 months now, memorizing the way his fingers wrap around a basketball, how they gesture when he talks, how they run through his dark hair when he's frustrated after a missed shot. If this story hits you, drop a heart in the comments. It's pathetic, really, the way I've cataloged every detail about my teammate like some lovesick teenager, but I can't help myself. Tyler Martinez has this effortless confidence on the court that makes everyone else look like they're moving through water while he glides on air, and I've been drowning in wanting him since the first day of practice. The thing about being gay on a college basketball team is that you become a master of compartmentalization. You learn to shower quickly, to keep your eyes focused on your own locker, to laugh at the right jokes and nod along when the guys talk about girls they want to hook up with. You perfect the art of being invisible in plain sight, of cheering for your teammates' romantic conquests while your own heart stays locked away like some shameful secret. I've gotten so good at it that sometimes I almost forget I'm pretending, until Tyler does something simple like stretch his arms above his head during warm-ups, and suddenly I'm reminded of exactly what I'm hiding. Tyler doesn't know, of course. How could he? I've spent years perfecting this performance of straight masculinity, this careful dance of friendship that never steps too close to the line. When he talks about girls, I listen and offer advice like any good friend would. When he mentions his on and off relationship with Emily, I make supportive noises and pretend my chest doesn't tighten with jealousy. When he throws his arm around my shoulders after a good game, I force myself to act normal even though my skin feels like it's on fire wherever he touches me. The worst part is that Tyler is genuinely a good guy. He's not one of those athletes who thinks the world revolves around him, not someone who treats people like disposable entertainment. He remembers details about everyone's lives, asks about my mom's job interviews, brings extra protein bars to share with the team. He's funny without being cruel, confident without being arrogant, and he has this way of making everyone around him feel like they matter. It would be so much easier if I could hate him, if I could find some flaw to focus on that would kill this hopeless attraction, but Tyler makes it impossible not to care about him. I've tried dating other people, tried to convince myself that what I feel for Tyler is just misplaced friendship or some kind of confused admiration. Last semester, I went out with a guy named Marcus from my psychology class, thinking that maybe if I had a real relationship with someone available, someone who actually wanted me back, these feelings would fade. But even when Marcus kissed me, even when we spent hours talking about everything and nothing, part of me was still thinking about Tyler. It felt like cheating, somehow, even though Tyler had no claim on my heart and no idea he even held it. The guilt of that realization made me break things off with Marcus before they could get serious. How could I be fair to someone else when I was so completely consumed by someone I could never have? Marcus deserved better than being someone's consolation prize, and I deserved to figure out how to move on instead of staying stuck in this endless cycle of wanting and hiding. But moving on feels impossible when Tyler is everywhere in my life. We have practice together 4 times a week, team meetings, study sessions, group dinners. We live in the same dorm building, just 2 floors apart, and sometimes I run into him in the hallway wearing nothing but a towel after his shower, and I have to pretend that seeing him like that doesn't make my brain completely short-circuit. We've become genuine friends over the past year, the kind of friendship where we can talk about anything except the one thing that matters most to me. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if Tyler has any idea how I feel about him. There are moments when I think I see something in his eyes, a flicker of awareness or curiosity that makes my heart race with possibility. Like when we're sitting together watching game film and he leans against me, or when he insists on walking me back to my dorm after late practices even though it's out of his way. But then he'll mention Emily or some girl he thinks is cute, and I remember that I'm probably just projecting my own feelings onto innocent gestures of friendship. The rational part of my brain knows that Tyler is straight, that he's never given me any real reason to think otherwise. He dates girls, talks about girls, seems genuinely attracted to girls in a way that doesn't leave room for doubt. But the irrational part of my brain, the part that's been fed by months of stolen glances and accidental touches, keeps whispering that maybe there's something more there. Maybe the way he looks at me sometimes means something. Maybe the reason he seems so comfortable around me is because he feels the same inexplicable pull that I do. It's torture, this constant state of hope and despair, of wanting someone so badly that it physically hurts while knowing that wanting him could destroy the friendship that's become one of the most important things in my life. If Tyler knew how I felt, would he be disgusted? Would he think I'd been deceiving him all this time, pretending to be his friend while secretly wanting more? Would he request a different roommate for away games, find excuses to avoid spending time with me, tell the other guys on the team that I made him uncomfortable? The fear of losing him keeps me silent, keeps me locked in this prison of my own, making where I can have Tyler's friendship but never his love. And maybe that should be enough. Maybe I should be grateful for what I have instead of torturing myself over what I can't have. But every time Tyler smiles at me, every time he seeks me out in a crowded room, every time he trusts me with his problems and his fears, I fall a little deeper into this hopeless spiral of wanting him. I tell myself that someday I'll find a way to move on, that these feelings will fade with time and distance. But for now, I'm stuck in this liminal space between friendship and love, between honesty and self-preservation, watching Tyler live his life while I quietly fall apart from wanting him. The next day after practice, Tyler lingered in the locker room longer than usual. I was stuffing my gear into my bag when I noticed him sitting on the bench, still in his practice clothes, staring at his phone with a frustrated expression. Most of the team had already cleared out, heading to dinner or back to their dorms, but Tyler seemed lost in thought. "You good, man?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual, even though my heart always did this annoying flutter thing whenever I had Tyler's attention focused on me. He looked up, and I caught something vulnerable in his expression before he quickly masked it. "Yeah, just dealing with some stuff." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I'd noticed over the months we'd been teammates. "Actually, can I ask you something? It's kind of weird." I sat down on the bench across from him, trying to ignore how the late afternoon light streaming through the small locker room windows made his eyes look even more intense than usual. "Sure, what's up?" Tyler was quiet for a moment, seeming to gather his thoughts. "You know how Emily and I broke up last week?" I nodded, remembering how he'd been quieter than usual during practice, missing some of his usual easy confidence. "Well, she said some things when we were breaking up that have been messing with my head." "What kind of things?" I asked, though part of me wasn't sure I wanted to know. Hearing about Tyler's relationship troubles always felt like emotional torture, knowing I'd give anything to be the one he was dating instead. She said I was too stiff, too uncomfortable with physical stuff. Like, not just sex, but even basic things like cuddling or just being close. Tyler's cheeks flushed slightly, and he looked down at his hands. She said it felt like I was afraid of intimacy, like I didn't know how to just be present with someone. I felt my chest tighten. The idea of Tyler being vulnerable with someone, of him wanting to learn how to be more physically affectionate, was doing dangerous things to my imagination. "That's rough, man. I'm sorry." The thing is, she wasn't wrong. Tyler met my eyes again, and I saw genuine frustration there. "I've always been confident on the court, you know. Basketball makes sense to me. But when it comes to relationships, to being close with someone, I feel like I'm constantly second-guessing myself." I nodded, trying to look supportive while my mind raced. Where was this conversation going? I mean, everyone's different with that stuff. Maybe you just need practice or something. Tyler's expression shifted, and I caught a flicker of something that looked almost hopeful. "That's actually what I wanted to ask you about." He paused, seeming to wrestle with his words. "This is going to sound really weird, but would you maybe help me practice? Like, with the physical affection stuff?" My brain short-circuited. "Practice?" I managed to say, my voice coming out slightly higher than normal. "I know it sounds crazy," Tyler said quickly, misreading my reaction. "But you're one of the most comfortable, confident people I know. And we're friends, so it wouldn't be weird, right? I just need to get better at things like cuddling, being close to someone without tensing up. Emily always said I felt like I was holding my breath whenever we were together." I stared at him, trying to process what he was asking. Tyler wanted to practice cuddling with me. The same Tyler I'd been fantasizing about for months. The Tyler whose laugh made my day better, whose presence in my space made me feel both completely alive and completely terrified. He wanted to practice being physically intimate with me so he could be better at it with his next girlfriend. "Logan." Tyler's voice brought me back to the present. "I'm sorry, that was a stupid thing to ask. Forget I said anything." "No, wait," I said quickly, my heart hammering against my ribs. "It's not stupid. I'm just surprised, I guess." Tyler looked at me hopefully. "So you'd be willing to help? I mean, I know it's not exactly normal, but I trust you. And honestly, I'm kind of desperate here." I don't want to keep failing at relationships because I can't figure out how to be comfortable with someone. The rational part of my brain was screaming warnings. This was a terrible idea. Spending time cuddling with Tyler, teaching him how to be affectionate, would be absolute torture. I'd be helping him become a better boyfriend for someone else while my own feelings for him grew stronger. It would be like willingly walking into an emotional minefield. But looking at Tyler's earnest expression, seeing the vulnerability he was showing me, I knew I couldn't say no. Maybe I was a masochist, or maybe I was just too far gone to make smart decisions when it came to him. Yeah, okay, I heard myself saying. I can help you with that. Tyler's face lit up with relief and gratitude. Really? Man, thank you. I know this is probably the weirdest favor anyone's ever asked you. It's fine, I said, trying to sound casual while my entire nervous system was firing at once. When did you want to start? Would tonight work? We could hang out in my room after dinner, maybe watch a movie or something. Just, I don't know, practice being comfortable being close to someone. I nodded, not trusting my voice to stay steady. Sure, that sounds good. Tyler stood up, his usual confident energy returning now that he'd gotten through the awkward conversation. You're seriously saving my life here, Logan. I owe you big time. As he headed toward the showers, I sat alone on the bench, staring at the empty locker room and wondering what the hell I'd just agreed to. In a few hours, I'd be in Tyler's room, probably on his bed, with his arms around me. It would be everything I'd been dreaming about and absolutely nothing like what I wanted, because it would all be practice for someone else. I pulled out my phone and stared at it, thinking about texting my friend Marcus back home. Marcus was the only person who knew I was gay, the only one I could talk to about this impossible situation. But what would I even say? That I'd just agreed to help my straight crush learn how to cuddle so he could be better at dating women? Instead, I shoved my phone back in my pocket and headed for the showers, trying to prepare myself for what was either going to be the best or worst night of my college career. The first session happened 3 nights later in Tyler's dorm room. Logan had spent those intervening days in a state of nervous anticipation that felt like walking a tightrope over an emotional abyss. He'd rehearsed casual conversation topics, practiced keeping his breathing steady, and mentally prepared himself for what would undoubtedly be the most exquisite torture he'd ever willingly subjected himself to. Tyler had texted him around 9, a simple "ready when you are," that made Logan's stomach flip. He'd stared at his reflection in the mirror for a full minute, wondering if his face would betray everything he felt the moment Tyler's arms wrapped around him. The walk across campus to Tyler's dorm felt both endless and far too short. When Tyler opened the door, he was wearing gray sweatpants and a soft navy t-shirt that hugged his shoulders in a way that made Logan's mouth go dry. His hair was still damp from the shower, and he had that slightly nervous energy that Logan had learned to recognize over their months as teammates. "Hey," Tyler said, stepping aside to let Logan in. "Thanks for doing this, man. I know it's probably weird." "It's not weird," Logan lied smoothly, settling onto Tyler's bed when Tyler gestured toward it. "We're friends. Friends help each other out." The first few minutes were awkward in the way that intimate physical contact between straight men often is in their world. Tyler positioned himself stiffly against the headboard, and Logan settled beside him, both of them maintaining careful distance. But then Tyler had shifted, moving closer, and Logan had instinctively opened his arms. When Tyler's head found its way to Logan's shoulder, something fundamental shifted in the universe. Tyler was warm. That was Logan's first coherent thought as his teammates settled against him. Warm and solid and smelling faintly of the cedar soap he always used. Tyler's breathing gradually slowed, and Logan felt the tension leave his shoulders as he relaxed into the embrace. "This is nice," Tyler murmured against Logan's collarbone, and Logan had to close his eyes against the wave of longing that crashed over him. They stayed like that for maybe 20 minutes, Tyler's arm draped across Logan's chest, Logan's hand resting carefully on Tyler's shoulder. When they finally separated, Tyler looked almost surprised by how natural it had felt. "That was good," Tyler said, running a hand through his hair. "I mean, I didn't feel like I was going to break you or anything." Logan managed a laugh that sounded almost normal. "You're not made of stone, Tyler. Relaxing is kind of the point." The second session, a few nights later, lasted longer. Tyler seemed more confident, more willing to let himself sink into the comfort of physical closeness. He'd positioned himself more naturally, his back against Logan's chest, Logan's arms wrapped around him from behind. Logan had focused on breathing steadily, on being present for Tyler, while trying to ignore the way his heart hammered against his ribs. Emily used to say I held her like she was going to disappear, Tyler had said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Like I was afraid to really touch her. Logan's arms had tightened slightly around him, an involuntary response to the vulnerability in Tyler's voice. Maybe you just needed to feel safe first, he'd replied, the words coming from somewhere deeper than conscious thought. Tyler had turned his head slightly, and Logan had caught a glimpse of his profile in the dim light from Tyler's desk lamp. I do feel safe with you, Tyler had said simply, and Logan had felt something crack open in his chest. By the fourth session, Logan was in serious trouble. Tyler had started initiating contact more naturally, reaching for Logan's hand when they settled on the bed, adjusting their position without the careful choreography of their first attempts. He'd begun talking more during their sessions, sharing stories about his family, his fears about life after college, his confusion about relationships. I've never been good at the emotional stuff, Tyler had admitted one night, his fingers absently tracing patterns on Logan's forearm. Like, I can read a defense perfectly, but put me in a room with a girl who wants to talk about feelings, and I freeze up. Logan had wanted to tell him that he was doing just fine with emotions right now, that the gentle way Tyler touched him suggested a capacity for tenderness that Emily had clearly never been able to access. Instead, he'd said, maybe you just needed practice with someone who wasn't expecting anything from you. But that was becoming less true with each passing session. Logan was expecting things now, hoping for things he had no right to hope for. He'd started noticing the way Tyler's breathing changed when they were close, how Tyler sometimes seemed reluctant to end their sessions, how he'd started texting Logan throughout the day about random things that had nothing to do with basketball or their practice sessions. The shift became undeniable during their sixth session. Tyler had positioned himself facing Logan this time, their legs tangled together, Tyler's hand resting on Logan's chest. They'd been talking quietly about their upcoming game against State when Tyler had gone quiet, his gaze fixed on Logan's face with an intensity that made Logan's breath catch. Logan, Tyler had said softly, his voice carrying a note Logan had never heard before. Can I ask you something? Logan's heart had started racing, but he'd nodded. Sure. Do you ever think about what it would be like if things were different? Like, if we weren't teammates, or if... Tyler had trailed off, his fingers curling slightly against Logan's shirt. The question had hung in the air between them, loaded with implications that Logan was afraid to examine too closely. He'd wanted to ask Tyler what he meant, wanted to push for clarity, but the fear of shattering whatever fragile thing was growing between them had kept him silent. I think about a lot of things, Logan had finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Tyler had studied his face for a long moment, and Logan had seen something shift in his expression, a recognition that made Logan's pulse quicken. Yeah, Tyler had said quietly. Me too. They'd stayed like that for the rest of the session, wrapped around each other in a silence that felt different from their previous comfortable quiet. This silence hummed with tension, with unspoken questions and possibilities that neither of them seemed ready to voice. When Logan had finally left that night, Tyler had walked him to the door, their usual casual goodbye replaced by something more lingering. Tyler's hand had brushed against Logan's arm as he reached for the door handle, and their eyes had met for a moment that stretched longer than friendship should allow. Same time tomorrow? Tyler had asked, and Logan had heard something in his voice that sounded less like a question about their practice schedule and more like a plea. Yeah, Logan had managed. Same time. Walking back to his own dorm, Logan had felt like he was coming apart at the seams. Each session was supposed to be helping Tyler prepare for intimacy with someone else, but the growing connection between them felt too real, too charged with possibility to be mere practice. Tyler's touches were becoming more intentional, his questions more pointed, his reluctance to end their sessions more obvious. Logan was beginning to suspect that Tyler's request for help with physical intimacy had been about more than just learning to be comfortable with girls. The way Tyler looked at him, touched him, the questions he asked, it all pointed towards something deeper than friendship, something that made Logan's carefully constructed walls feel increasingly fragile. The terrifying truth was that Logan was starting to believe Tyler might be feeling something real for him too. And that possibility was both the most wonderful and most dangerous thing Logan had ever allowed himself to imagine. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tyler's face from our session earlier that evening. The way he'd looked at me when he asked if I ever thought about things being different, the vulnerability in his voice, the way he'd lingered in my arms like he never wanted to let go. I'd been staring at my ceiling for hours, my mind racing with possibilities I was terrified to fully acknowledge. The knock on my door came at nearly midnight, so soft I almost missed it. My heart hammered as I opened it to find Tyler standing in the hallway, still in his practice clothes, hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. His eyes were wide, almost frantic, and he looked like he'd been wrestling with something just as intensely as I had. "Tyler, what are you? I can't stop thinking about you," he said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I know that sounds crazy, but I can't. Ever since we started these sessions, you're all I think about. Not Emily, not other girls, just you." My breath caught. This was everything I'd been hoping for and everything I'd been dreading. "Tyler, you should come in," I managed, stepping aside before anyone could see him in the hallway looking so vulnerable. He paced to the center of my small room, then turned to face me, his hands clenched at his sides. "I've been lying to myself, Logan. And I've been lying to you too." "What do you mean?" I asked, though part of me already knew. Part of me had been hoping for weeks that this moment would come. The practicing thing. It was never really about Emily or being better with girls. He ran a hand through his hair, his voice shaking slightly. "I mean, maybe it started that way, but that's not why I kept coming back. That's not why I look forward to our sessions more than anything else in my week." I felt like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. "Tyler, I know this is probably the last thing you want to hear from your teammate, but I had to tell you. These past few weeks with you have been the most real thing I've ever experienced. When I'm in your arms, when we're just lying there talking, I feel like myself in a way I never have before. And I know that probably sounds insane because I'm supposed to be straight, but you're not insane," I interrupted, my voice barely above a whisper. "You're not insane at all." He stopped pacing and looked at me with such intensity that I felt exposed, like he could see straight through to my soul. "The way you hold me, the way you listen to me, the way you make me feel safe. I've never had that with anyone. Not with Emily, not with any girl I've dated. And I keep telling myself it's just because you're my friend, because you're helping me. But what?" I asked, stepping closer despite every instinct telling me to protect myself. "But friends don't make me feel like this," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "Friends don't make my heart race when they touch me. Friends don't make me want to stay wrapped up in their arms forever. Friends don't make me question everything I thought I knew about myself." The air between us felt electric, charged with years of unspoken feelings and weeks of building tension. I could see the fear in his eyes, the same fear I'd been carrying for months, but underneath it was something else. Hope, maybe, or recognition. "Tyler, I need to tell you something," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "And I need you to know that whatever happens after I say this, our friendship matters more to me than anything else." He nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. "I'm gay," I said, the words feeling both terrifying and liberating. "I've known for years, but I've never told anyone on the team. And these practice sessions, they haven't been practice for me either. They've been the closest I've ever come to being with someone I care about." His eyes widened, but he didn't step back. If anything, he seemed to lean closer. "I've been in love with you for months, Tyler. Every time you asked me to help you practice, it was like being given everything I wanted and nothing I could actually have. Because I thought you were straight, and I thought I was just helping you become better at being with someone else." "Logan," he breathed, and there was something in the way he said my name that made my chest tight. "I'm telling you this because you deserve to know the truth about what these sessions have meant to me. But I'm also telling you because I think maybe they've meant something similar to you too." He was quiet for a long moment, and I watched emotions play across his face: surprise, recognition, relief, and something that looked like wonder. "I don't know what I am," he said finally. "I don't know if I'm gay or bi or what. All I know is that when I'm with you, everything makes sense in a way it never has before. When you hold me, when we talk, when you look at me like you're looking at me right now, it feels like coming home." My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. "What does that mean for us?" "I don't know," he admitted, taking a step closer. But I know I can't keep pretending this is just about practicing for other people. I know I can't keep lying to myself about how I feel when I'm with you. And I know that when I asked you earlier if you ever thought about things being different, I was really asking if you thought about us being different. Different how? I asked, though I could barely breathe. Different like maybe we stop calling it practice. Different like maybe we admit that what we have is real. Different like maybe I stop being terrified of how much I want to be close to you. The space between us had shrunk to almost nothing, and I could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Tyler, are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying that I've been falling for you, and I didn't even realize it until tonight when I couldn't stop thinking about you. I'm saying that every time we're together, I have to fight the urge to tell you how much you mean to me. I'm saying that I think I've been using the practice sessions as an excuse to be close to you because I was too scared to admit what I really wanted. And what do you really want? I asked, my voice barely audible. He reached out slowly, his fingers brushing against mine. I want to stop pretending. I want to stop lying to myself. I want to be with you, not as practice, not as friends helping each other out, but as whatever this is between us. I felt tears prick at my eyes, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he was saying. Tyler, this changes everything. I know, he said, his thumb tracing over my knuckles. I know it's scary, and I know it's complicated, and I know we'll have to figure out a lot of things. But I can't keep pretending I don't have feelings for you. I can't keep pretending that being in your arms doesn't feel like the most natural thing in the world. What about the team? What about everything else? I don't know, he said honestly. But I know that whatever we have to face, I want to face it with you. I know that hiding how I feel about you is killing me, and I think it's been killing you too. I looked into his eyes and saw my own feelings reflected back at me. The fear, the hope, the desperate longing, and underneath it all, something that looked like love. It has been, I admitted. Every session, every moment with you. It's been the best and worst thing that's ever happened to me. Then let's stop torturing ourselves, he said, his other hand coming up to cup my face. Let's stop pretending this is about anything other than us. The silence stretched between us, heavy with everything we'd just admitted. Tyler's hand was still resting on my chest, and I could feel his pulse racing through his fingertips. The midnight air in my dorm room felt charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. Logan, Tyler whispered, his voice barely audible. I need to tell you something else. My heart hammered against my ribs. What? He shifted closer, his forehead almost touching mine. The first time I asked you to help me practice, I already knew. Deep down, I knew it wasn't really about Emily or getting better with girls. The confession hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean? I mean, I've been watching you for months. The way you move, the way you laugh, the way you get this little crease between your eyebrows when you're concentrating during practice. His voice cracked slightly. I told myself it was just admiration, you know? Like, you're an amazing teammate and friend, so of course I'd notice things about you. I couldn't breathe. Tyler. But then Emily broke up with me, and instead of being devastated, I felt relieved. And that scared the hell out of me. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. So I convinced myself that if I could just get comfortable with physical affection, I'd want her back. I'd want any girl back. But you came to me, I said, my voice hoarse. I came to you because being near you was the only thing that felt right, even when I was lying to myself about why. Tyler's hand moved from my chest to cup my face, his thumb tracing along my cheekbone. Every time we did those practice sessions, I'd go back to my room and lie awake thinking about how perfect it felt, how safe, how right. The vulnerability in his voice was breaking me apart. You have no idea what those sessions did to me. Holding you, feeling you relax against me, pretending it was just helping a friend when every fiber of my being was screaming that I was falling deeper in love with you. In love? Tyler's breath caught. The words had slipped out, but I couldn't take them back now. And I didn't want to. Yes, in love. Completely, desperately, hopelessly in love with you. Tyler's eyes filled with tears, and for a terrifying moment, I thought I'd ruined everything. But then he leaned forward and pressed his forehead against mine again. I think I'm in love with you too, he whispered. And that terrifies me because I don't know what it means. I don't know what I am or who I am anymore. You don't have to know everything right now, I said, my hands finding his shoulders. You don't have to have all the answers. But what if I'm just confused? What if I'm using you to figure myself out, and I end up hurting you? The anguish in his voice was raw, real. You deserve better than someone who doesn't even know what he wants. Tyler, look at me. I waited until his eyes met mine. I've been gay since I was 13. I've known who I am for years. And in all that time, I've never felt anything close to what I feel for you. Not even close. But what if? What if nothing? I interrupted gently. What if we stop asking what if and start asking what now? What if we stop being afraid of what this might mean and start being honest about what it already means? Tyler's grip on me tightened. What does it mean to you? It means I love you. Not the idea of you. Not the fantasy I've built up in my head. But you. The real you. The guy who gets nervous before big games but never shows it. The guy who always makes sure the freshmen feel included. The guy who pretends to be tough but tears up during those stupid commercials with the dogs. A laugh escaped him, watery but genuine. You noticed that? I notice everything about you. I have for months. I brushed a tear from his cheek. And what I've noticed is that you're brave, Tyler. Braver than you think. It takes courage to question everything you thought you knew about yourself. It takes courage to admit when something feels right, even when it's scary. I am scared, he admitted. I'm terrified of what the team will think, what my family will think, what everyone will think. But I'm more terrified of losing this. Of losing you. You're not going to lose me, I promised. Whatever happens, whatever you decide about yourself, about us, you're not going to lose me. Even if we can only be friends, even if this is too complicated, you're not going to lose me. Tyler was quiet for a long moment, his thumb still tracing patterns on my cheek. What if I don't want to just be friends? My heart stopped. What are you saying? I'm saying that every time I've tried to imagine my future, for weeks now, you've been in it. Not as my teammate, not as my friend, but as more. As my person. His voice grew stronger, more certain. I'm saying that I don't care if I don't have all the labels figured out yet. I know how I feel about you, and I know it's real. Tyler, I'm saying I want to stop pretending this is practice for someone else. I want to stop lying to myself and to you. He moved closer, his lips barely an inch from mine. I want this to be real. I want us to be real. The space between us crackled with possibility. Are you sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back to pretending. No more excuses about practice or helping each other out. It'll just be us, figuring this out together. I'm sure, Tyler said, his voice steady now. I'm sure about you. I'm sure about how I feel. Everything else, we'll figure out as we go. Together? Together. The word hung between us like a promise, like a vow. And for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe freely. Not because all our problems were solved or because the fear had disappeared, but because we were finally being honest. Finally choosing each other instead of hiding from each other. So what happens now? Tyler asked. Now we stop pretending, I said. Now we be real with each other. Now we figure out what this looks like when it's not a secret we're keeping from ourselves. Tyler smiled, and it was different from any smile I'd seen from him before. It was soft and vulnerable and entirely meant for me. I liked the sound of that. Yeah. He paused, his eyes searching mine. Logan. Yeah. Can I kiss you? Not for practice, not to figure anything out, just because I want to. My heart soared. I thought you'd never ask. The silence stretched between us, heavy with everything we'd just admitted. Tyler's hand was still in mine, his thumb tracing small circles across my knuckles, and I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs. The air in my dorm room felt charged, electric with possibility and terror in equal measure. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up, Tyler whispered, his voice barely audible. That this is some dream where I finally get to say what I've been feeling, and then I'll open my eyes and we'll be back to pretending. I squeezed his hand tighter. It's not a dream. We're really here, and we really said those things. Tyler's eyes searched mine, and I saw the same mixture of wonder and fear that was coursing through my own veins. Logan, I need you to know something. These past few weeks, every time I left your room after our practice sessions, I would lie in my bed and replay every second. The way you held me, the way you smelled, the sound of your breathing. I told myself it was just because I was learning, but I was falling for you. Hard. And it scared the hell out of me because I didn't understand what it meant. His voice cracked slightly. I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you. Not Emily, not any girl I've dated. With you, it's like I can finally breathe. My chest tightened with emotion. Tyler, You don't know how many nights I've lain awake thinking about you. How many times I've had to bite my tongue when you talked about girls, or force myself to act normal when you'd casually touch my shoulder or bump into me during practice. I've been in love with you for months, and every single one of those cuddling sessions was torture because I wanted it to be real so badly. It was real, he said firmly, shifting closer to me on the bed. Maybe I didn't understand it at the time, but it was real. Every moment of it. I could feel the warmth radiating from his body, could smell the familiar scent of his shampoo, mixed with something uniquely him. When you asked me to help you practice, I thought it would kill me. Being that close to you, knowing you were thinking about someone else. I wasn't, Tyler interrupted. I told myself I was, but I wasn't. When I was in your arms, there was nothing else. No Emily, no other girls, no expectations. Just you and me and this feeling of being exactly where I belonged. The honesty in his voice broke something open in my chest. You have no idea how much I've wanted to hear you say that. Tyler's free hand came up to cup my face, his thumb brushing across my cheekbone. I'm terrified, Logan. I don't know what this makes me, or what people will think, or how to navigate any of this. But I know that when I'm with you, I feel more like myself than I ever have before. We don't have to figure it all out tonight, I said, leaning into his touch. We just have to be honest with each other. I'm being honest. For the first time in my life, I'm being completely honest. His voice was steady now, determined. I love you, Logan. I love your laugh and the way you get this little crease between your eyebrows when you're concentrating. I love how you always know exactly what to say to make me feel better after a bad game. I love how safe I feel when you hold me, and how you never made me feel weird or broken for needing that comfort. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes. Tyler, I love that you saw through all my bullshit excuses and still agreed to help me. I love that you've been patient with me even when I was too scared to admit what was happening between us. He paused, his thumb still tracing along my cheek. And I love that you're brave enough to be yourself, even when it's hard. I don't feel brave, I admitted. I feel terrified that this is too good to be true. It's not, he said with a conviction that made my heart skip. This is real, Logan. What we have is real, and I'm not going to let fear ruin it. The space between us seemed to shrink, and I could feel his breath on my lips. Tyler, are you sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back to just being teammates who cuddle for practice. I don't want to go back, he whispered. I want to go forward. With you. His words sent a shiver through me. I've imagined this moment so many times, but I never thought. What did you imagine? That you'd want me back. That this could be real instead of just wishful thinking. Tyler's hand slid from my cheek to the back of my neck, his fingers tangling in my hair. It's real. I'm real. This is real. And then he was kissing me, soft and tentative at first, like he was asking permission. I kissed him back, pouring months of longing and love into the connection between us. His lips were warm and perfect, and when he deepened the kiss, I felt like I was coming alive for the first time. When we finally broke apart, both of us breathing hard, Tyler rested his forehead against mine. That was our first real kiss, I finished. Not practice, not pretending, just us. Just us. I agreed, my heart full to bursting. Tyler smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I love you, Logan, and I'm not going to hide it anymore. I love you too, I whispered back. So much it scares me. Good scared or bad scared? Good scared. The kind that means something matters. He kissed me again, slower this time, like he was savoring it. When we separated, he pulled me closer, wrapping his arms around me in a way that felt nothing like our practice sessions. This was real intimacy, real connection, real love. So what happens now? I asked, my voice muffled against his shoulder. Now we figure it out together, Tyler said, his arms tightening around me. No more pretending, no more excuses. Just us, being honest about what we want. And what do you want? You, he said simply. I want you, Logan. In whatever way you'll have me. I pulled back to look at him, seeing my own feelings reflected in his eyes. I want you too. I want all of this. I want to be your boyfriend, not just your practice partner. Tyler's smile was radiant. I like the sound of that. Yeah. Logan's boyfriend. I think I could get used to that. As we settled back into each other's arms, this time as something new and real and ours, I felt a peace I'd never experienced before. The fear was still there, lurking around the edges, but it was overshadowed by the overwhelming rightness of being here with Tyler, finally able to love him openly. "Thank you," Tyler murmured against my hair. "For what?" "For being patient with me. For letting me figure this out. For loving me even when I was too scared to love you back." "You don't have to thank me for loving you," I said. "It's not something I had a choice in." "Maybe not. But you had a choice in how you handled it, and you chose to be kind. You chose to help me even when it hurt you. That means everything." I held him tighter, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, we'd face them together. No more pretending, no more hiding. Just love, real and honest and ours. The morning light filtered through my dorm room curtains, casting gentle shadows across Tyler's sleeping face. He looked peaceful, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen him before. Not the confident athlete everyone knew, but simply Tyler, the man who'd chosen to love me back. His arm was draped across my chest, and I could feel his steady breathing against my shoulder. Last night had changed everything. After months of pretending those cuddling sessions were just practice, after years of hiding my feelings, we'd finally been honest with each other. Tyler stirred slightly, his fingers unconsciously tracing patterns on my skin, and I felt that familiar flutter in my chest. Except now it wasn't accompanied by the sharp ache of impossibility. "Morning," he murmured against my neck, his voice rough with sleep. The simple word sent warmth spreading through me because it carried no pretense, no excuse about practicing for someone else. This was real. "Good morning, boyfriend," I whispered back, testing the word on my tongue. Tyler lifted his head to look at me, and I saw the same wonder in his eyes that I felt in my heart. "I like the sound of that," he said softly, then hesitated. "Logan, I need you to know something. I'm still figuring out all of this. About myself, about what it means that I'm falling for you. But I'm certain about one thing. What I feel for you is real." I reached up to cup his face, my thumb brushing across his cheekbone. "I know you are. And I'm not going anywhere while you figure it out. We don't have to have all the answers right now." Tyler leaned into my touch, closing his eyes. "I keep thinking about how different everything feels with you. When I was with Emily, or any girl really, it always felt like I was performing, trying to be someone I thought I should be. But with you," he opened his eyes, meeting my gaze. "With you, I just feel like me." The vulnerability in his voice made my chest tight with emotion. "That's all I've ever wanted. Just you, exactly as you are." We lay there in comfortable silence for a while, and I found myself memorizing this moment. The weight of his body against mine, the way his hair fell across his forehead, the soft sound of his breathing. After so many months of stolen moments disguised as something else, this felt like the most precious gift. "We should probably talk about logistics," Tyler said eventually, though he made no move to pull away. "The team, I mean, and everyone else." I nodded, having expected this conversation. "We take it at whatever pace feels right for you. I've been mostly closeted with the team anyway, so nothing has to change there immediately." Tyler was quiet for a moment, his fingers still tracing absent patterns on my chest. "I hate that we have to hide this. What we have is beautiful, Logan. It shouldn't have to be a secret. Maybe it won't have to be forever," I said gently. "But right now, keeping it between us means we get to figure out what this is without outside pressure. We can create our own space." He lifted his head again, studying my face. "You're not ashamed of me, are you? Of this?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "Tyler, no. God, no. I'm proud to be yours. I'm just scared of losing you if things get complicated." "You won't lose me," he said with quiet certainty. "I may not have all the answers about my sexuality yet, but I know I love you. That's not going to change because of what other people think." I felt tears prick at my eyes. "I love you too, more than I ever thought possible." Tyler leaned down and kissed me, slow and tender, and I marveled at how different it felt from last night. Our first kiss had been desperate, full of months of pent-up longing and fear. This one was peaceful, sure, like a promise we were making to each other. When we broke apart, Tyler rested his forehead against mine. "So what does this look like? Being boyfriends, I mean." I smiled, running my hands through his hair. "Well, for starters, no more pretending these moments are practice for someone else. When we're alone like this, it's just us. No excuses needed." "I like that," he said, grinning. "What else?" "We figure out how to be together in the ways that feel right for us. Maybe we start with small things, sitting together at team dinners, finding excuses to spend time together that don't involve fake practice sessions." Tyler laughed, the sound bright and genuine. I can't believe I convinced you to help me practice cuddling. That was the worst excuse ever. It was terrible, I agreed, laughing too. But it worked, didn't it? Got me exactly where I wanted to be. Where's that? Right here, I said, pulling him closer. With you, not pretending anymore. Tyler settled back against me, and I felt him relax completely, the way he used to during our practice sessions, but deeper now, more trusting. I have one more confession, he said quietly. What's that? I never actually needed practice cuddling. I needed an excuse to be close to you. I was so confused about what I was feeling, but I knew I needed to find a way to touch you without having to examine why. I pressed a kiss to the top of his head. I know. I think I knew even then, but I was too scared to hope it meant what I wanted it to mean. Well, now you know, Tyler said, tilting his head up to look at me. It meant everything. As we lay there together, no longer hiding behind pretense or fear, I felt something settle in my chest, a peace I hadn't known I was missing. We had challenges ahead, questions to answer, and a world to navigate as a couple. But for now, in the quiet of my dorm room with Tyler in my arms, we were exactly where we belonged. Ready for whatever comes next? I asked softly. Tyler's answer came without hesitation. As long as it's with you.